Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hit and Hustle from IrishSportsDaily.com. I'm your host, Greg Flammang, and with me, as always, is Jamie Uyeyama, Mr. Jamie University. It is Tuesday, January 27th. Notre Dame is in need of a new secondary defensive backs coach. Mike Mickens is off to the Baltimore Ravens. He was poached by former Michigan coach Jesse Minter. He is now he gets to go roam the fields with Kyle Hamilton and coach him. So I understand. I certainly understand the desire to do that. Notre Dame is in need of a new secondary coach after the stellar job that Mike Mickens done during his 6 years at Notre Dame. There's a resolution to the Darian Mensah situation at Duke that we are going to talk about, and then we need to rehash a question from the mailbag because I skipped one. Apologies, and we'll read it on this show, and we'll talk about that regarding future head coaching candidates as well as anything that comes up in the chat. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in today. If you like what you hear, hit that like button, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know whenever it is we are going live. And as always, the show is brought to you by ESQ Clothing, founded by Notre Dame alum Ge Wang. He is Chicago's go-to for the best custom suits, shirts, and sport coats. They're known for their next-level craftsmanship using the finest fabrics. ESQ has introduced a 100% Pima cotton t-shirt to go along with its award-winning bamboo dress shirt, which is available for purchase online. He's got showrooms both downtown Chicago and in Winnetka. Book your custom fitting at esqclothing.com and step into confidence with Chicago's finest. Mention ISD at your appointment or use code ISD at checkout and receive 10% off your entire purchase. That's esqclothing.com. So, Jamie, before we get going, the Darian Mensah situation has been, around college football, trying to get out of his contract with Duke and presumably go to Miami, which I think everyone kind of knows. There's been a settlement. I want to read a little bit from the agent's statement here. We commend Darian for his extraordinary professionalism, maturity, and unwavering commitment to making the decisions that best serves his future and his family. His approach throughout the process exemplifies the highest standards of character and integrity. Listen, I'm glad it worked out for the player, whatever, man. You know, their situation is their situation.
We reached a settlement. And
that's not what happened. Unwavering commitment to his own best interests. That's cool. Like, I honestly, like, for the selfish people out there, for people like unwavering commitment to their own self-interest. That's good, man.
Oh, man.
I got to give the agent credit for that. Here's the thing. I don't know this player. I don't know, obviously, Darian Mensah as a person. I don't know that he's of low character. I wouldn't say that. People do things. When you do something that reflects the opposite of that, people will point it out, and that's fine. I'm sure he's a wonderful human being, right? He's fine. This is you shouldn't do this. The way that they went about this, you shouldn't do that. The way Miami went about it, you also shouldn't do that. But it is what it is, and this is the world we live in. But it's just you shouldn't. You know, if when Lane Kiffin does what he does, he gets pilloried in the media for it. And you shouldn't leave when you have a contract with a school. You shouldn't leave on the eve of the portal when they have no way to the portal's closed. There's no way for them to replace your position. You screwed them over. You screwed your team over. That's what you did. I assume for more money, maybe from Miami, a better opportunity. And so, it is what it is. But it looks like Notre Dame's going to be facing Darian Mensah when Miami comes to town on November 7th.
Yeah, I mean, I guess sucks for Notre Dame and everyone who plays Miami. He's a good player, right? And so, I mean, that's kind of getting that out of the way. He's a good player. He makes Miami better. Obviously, that was something that when they were kind of left out in the cold they missed out on all their quarterbacks. They just basically said him and whatever back channeled their way. I doubt. I mean, who knows? Maybe he was in class like the kid from Clemson was when he was getting texts from people, but it is no different than that situation with the linebacker from Clemson. It's pretty obvious. Like, no one just goes in on the last day. The way that it was handled, if he had went early on, like early in the portal, even like the first week, you at least give Duke a chance to recover and do something. And I think the way it was handled, like I guess it is part of the process. Like you can go in at that time, so it's not like you can't. But him obviously backing out of, he's going to get paid $4 million to play at Duke.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he backed out of that to, I'm sure, get more at Miami, and just everything with the way it was handled was so classless. And the fact that Miami for the second year in a row just basically like bought a guy who was already signed, there has to be some kind of repercussions there. And I know there probably won't be.
There won't be. Yeah.
I'm not, even with Dabo having the receipts for the backers who was at Clemson for a week and now at Ole Miss. There's probably not going to be anything with that either, because the NCAA like just basically seems like toothless. They just are like basically they just hand wave anyone who goes for a waiver too. It's very rare. That's why, let's face it, that's why Notre Dame was smart to say, hey, can Jason Onion get a waiver to play an extra year? Because he would have never got that waiver 3 years ago. And 10 years ago, they would have laughed in his face, right? Like it never would have happened, but that's just what it is. I guess they're just scared of losing in court or whatever. They have no enforcement. Like the only way it will get fixed though is the Power 4 schools and programs have to like get together and say like, listen, we got to do something here. But since it benefits the haves,
it benefits everybody. Yeah.
And it's, I mentioned it on the podcast yesterday. Like the reason Purdue won't make a huge deal of their kicker basically not entering the portal, withdrawing from school, and then going to Notre Dame is because they've done way worse, I'm sure, to get guys like the guys who played for Barry Odom at UNLV. Like there's extreme tampering there that going for all those guys, for every single one of those, for them to get Nitro Tuggle.
Right.
There's all of these little pieces. There's a tampering going on all the time. And no one is not guilty. Everyone is doing it. But the way that it's like blatant when there's contracts involved and it doesn't, like, there should be some kind of fix, but I don't even know if it's ever going to happen.
Right. Because no one wants it to happen. Like you said, everyone wants the freedom to break the rules or whatever. Like, I think people are kind of like Notre Dame's like the portal's closed, right? What's to stop someone right now from dropping out of school and enrolling somewhere else?
I think there's nothing that's really stopping it. Like I can't remember. I want to credit the person who wrote it, but somebody wrote that because there's no spring portal this year, well, what's going to happen when this person is not the starter at this school, or this person just gets buried and they're like, I'm an early enrollee. I thought I was going to get reps. I got no reps. I'm not happy here. That person's going to just stick it out. No,
they're going to go. They'll just leave the school and enroll somewhere else in the fall.
Yeah.
And what? I'm a student at whatever school. I would like to play football for them. I'm going to do that. Like, I don't, what's the NCAA going to do? Nothing. There's nothing they can do. There are no, like, the emperor's clothes have been shown to not exist. Like people can do whatever they want. Like this kid for Clemson, the linebacker is taking classes. He's taking classes. He is in meetings. I'm not going to go to your school. I'm not going to school. It's like, oh, okay. Like, so it's all just what it is. The only thing that's holding it all together is a collective kind of like understanding of this is how things should be done. But when you get enough of this stuff, it's like the NCAA and the portals and all this other mumbo jumbo, like it all goes away. Because, like you said, what can they do? Like I'm like Chambly, right? Like Trinidad Chambly, he got his waiver denied. They're gonna get a TRO from a judge, and he's gonna end up playing. Like there's no way he's not playing next year.
Yeah,
because they'll lose. They'll just lose in court, and they always lose in court. When is the last time NCAA won something in court? It just doesn't happen. So, not that I care about the Chambly thing. It's fine. I'm just saying, like, Jason Onye got a waiver. Chambly, if he wants it, why doesn't he get it? So, although I think they did lose over the Pavia thing. So, congratulations to you on that. All right.
Wait a second here. I have to get in here. Listed at 6 feet. Brother, he's under 5'10".
Woo!
He is under 5'10". Like, come on.
Which honestly, like, that's some high school. That's some high school. Like game. The game thing on the piece of paper. You know how in high school, like every weight in height is just incorrect, right? I was 6 foot 180 when I was in high school. Let me tell you, I am not 6 foot, and I am not what I was at the time. I was not 180. So, that's just funny, man. That's good stuff from your boy, from your brother. All right. Mike Mickens off to the NFL. Obviously, it's a huge loss. I was thinking last night, he's got to be like one of the best position coaches like in the history of the program. I mean, like I don't know how far back. Like I can't speak to the Divine era, and I don't know what kind of running backs coaches the Frank Leahy had back in the day. But when you think about like who really stands out, like Joe Moore, obviously, because there's a whole award named after him. I think people have complicated feelings about Harry Hiestand, but like when you look at the number of first round picks that came out of Notre Dame at the time, like he's obviously on there. Mike Mickens is on there. I mean, I don't know who else truly stands out to me as like this guy. Like I know this is weird because Urban Meyer was a coach at Notre Dame. He was a wide receiver coach, and he was a special teams guy. So, I mean, he's obviously like he turned out to be a great coach. At Notre Dame, he was a good coach, but it's not like he produced, incredible rooms. But man, I mean, Mike Mickens. I mean, I look at him. I mean, look at what he built at Notre Dame. I feel like he's got to be on the list. So just from that point of view, you don't like someone like that going out of your building.
Yeah. I absolutely, if you're talking about like legacy, it's like everybody else is going to get, obviously the next guy is going to get compared to him, but the next guy will be compared to him. Like that's, and that's the legacy of Joe Moore too, right?
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why people don't think, like, there's a lot of people who think Hiestand, well, they couldn't get this on short yardage or whatever. And all of a sudden that becomes like, yeah, he wasn't a good old line coach. It's like, it's hard to live up to the standard. Obviously, Joe Moore was his mentor, so there's a lot of that. But that's the thing. Joe Rudolph gets compared to Joe Moore, like that. All of that happens, and I think if you look at Notre Dame's obviously had some great DBs over the course of history. Yeah, they've had a bunch of dudes, a bunch of All-Americans, first-round picks, etc. It had been a while. It had been since the Holtz era, since they had consistently guys that were, at that level all the time, especially at corner. And I think what Mickens did is, I don't want to say unprecedented because there hasn't, but just since that time, there wasn't anybody else. There wasn't anybody else who did that. So it's huge shoes to fill, right? It's huge shoes to fill.
Yeah. And so they need to go about filling those shoes. You came out with a list, Jamie. Why don't we just go over? I mean, it's been out for a couple days, so I think we can talk about it here. Who is on the list? And how do you feel personally about it? I guess let's start with Chris O'Leary. He's on the thumbnail for this show, and so he's a natural connection, right? He coached the position. He coached safeties at Notre Dame. And then he went to it was the Chargers. I think it was the Chargers with John Harbaugh, and now he's at Central Michigan, and he's the with Lance Taylor,
or Western Michigan,
Western Michigan, excuse me, and he's the defensive coordinator for Lance Taylor. And so he's obviously a candidate for the job. It's funny how people are like I'm getting messages on Twitter when I just announced that, or when I retweeted that Mike Mickens was leaving. People are like, anyone but O'Leary. And I'm like, that's a strong reaction. Like, that's interesting. I not a reaction that I would have. Like, did he do a bad job? I don't understand. But he, he is an option. What do you think about him as an option? And then we can kind of move on to the more of the unknown guys.
I mean, I think with O'Leary, that reaction is all based on recruiting, and they had that like one stretch where they didn't take a safety in the one class, and they missed out on the kid who went to Iowa. But he was like the only guy they were going
Xavier
after.
Nwankpa.
Yeah. And they were after Nwankpa. They didn't get him. And then the next class was like, he had underwhelming results. And then it's like, well, they lost Peyton Bowen. I mean, he didn't have anything to do with that. Like, that has nothing to do, zero impact with him. And I'm just going to keep reiterating to people, the position coach, it's important in recruiting. It's not the same as it was even like 4 years ago. It is different. It is very different. And it's not to say that all the guys who signed with Notre Dame didn't want to play for Mike Mickens, and that wasn't a big incentive. Of course it was. But the part about the relationship and all of that, like, this guy's got to grind harder than everyone else, that's not the same as it was before. So I think there's a little bit of like overrating that aspect of it. And one, he is a guy who wins people over in the room. I mean, he's someone I actually could see being a college head coach one day.
Chris O'Leary.
Chris O'Leary, yeah.
Okay.
Like, I just think he has the kind of energy and temperament where like he could win a press conference. Like he's one of those guys, right? And so he'll do well in like any interview setting, which is part of the reason why he went and like got that job with Harbaugh. And obviously he had the connection to Lance Taylor, so that's how he got that job. But if you look at his background, he wasn't somebody who played at a big school and then he's had connections going forward. It's like, no, he had to like earn it. Like, he played at a small school and had to go and work his way up. Usually if a guy's doing that, he's a pretty darn good coach. And I think he is a good coach. Like, he is a very good coach. So the question would always be just whether or not he is going to want to go to a place where he's not the defensive coordinator anymore. Mm-hmm. Obviously, he took that defensive coordinator role because he wants to advance his career. And it's not to say that it just depends how he views it. Or, I mean, they might not even want him, but like, it depends how he views it in terms of, is that like a step down, or is it like a step up, or just like a step to the side where you're still being in charge, like being the secondary coach at Notre Dame, not just the safeties coach, getting a lot more money. The fact that he has that now, like, yesterday's price isn't the same as today's price. He'd be making a lot more money.
Yeah.
And it's just how he would view that, and whether or not he'd want to do that. But he was at Notre Dame 6 years. Obviously understands the place. Worked for Freeman. Mm-hmm. So it just would be like a kind of a question of whether or not, like, they wanted him, whether or not they wanted to get somebody else with him to coach corners, or if they had somebody else in mind there. But I mean, certainly he's a qualified coach.
100%. My thing with him is he's a safeties coach, and Mike Mickens is obviously mainly a cornerback coach. Like, I think you need, in my opinion, I think it needs to be someone who, because I don't know, because look, safety is an important position, obviously, right? Like, there's so much to that, but like, it's harder technique wise, and teaching the art of playing corner is different than teaching the art of playing safety.
Yeah.
It's a lot more technical at corner, and especially nickel. And like, I want a guy who is his specialty is corners, because the other part of this is like Chris Ash is a safety guy. So like, he already has background there. And so I kind of want the guy to be focused on corners and his specialty to be corners. So the other part of that too is like getting premier corners because as good as Chris O'Leary can be, right? The disappointments in recruiting that we're talking about is like Peyton Bowen at safety, Xavier Nwankpa at safety, right? He doesn't really have experience like courting cornerbacks. And that's what Notre Dame, like, that's what's really hard to find, right? Obviously. And Mike Mickens was very good at it. Like, he lands Kari Adams, he lands Leonard Moore, he lands Ben Morrison. Like, he lands these guys and he can evaluate them. And maybe Chris O'Leary has a really good way of evaluating these guys, and maybe he has a talent for it. But like, I want someone with that corner background. And someone that I think it came up in the chat, that all Jay Valai, or is it Valai, the way you say it,
I think so,
at Oklahoma. Very intrigued by him. No, Oklahoma's had good corners for a long time. They've had good secondaries for a long time. He's a cornerbacks coach there. He made your list. I think he was the first name on your list as well. I don't know if that was how
it was
that
intentional.
came about. It was intentional. Okay. All right. So talk about him being the top on your list as possible replacements for Mike Mickens here.
Well, one, I think it makes sense just in terms of his qualifications.
Yeah.
You know, like you said, he's been at Oklahoma the last 4 years, working with Brent Venables. They've obviously played really good defense there. You know, finished 13th and 4th in DF plus last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
They finished 9th in EPA per dropback this past season. And if you look at his background, he was a GA for Kirby Smart at Georgia. He was worked for Nick Saban at Alabama. He was in the NFL with the Kansas City Chiefs for a brief period. And that isn't even talking about. So obviously, Smart, Saban, Venables, they vouch for you. You can coach.
Yeah.
You can coach. So that is a big thing. Like you said, he's a corners coach. He's a corners coach, coaches corners and nickels at Oklahoma. The big thing, though, is he's captain at Wisconsin when, Chris Ash was his coach.
Mm-hmm.
Charlie Partridge on that staff at that same time, even though he didn't coach him, but he was, the defensive line coach at that time. So obviously they know him then too. But he was, when Ash was coach at Rutgers, he hired him. So he's worked for Ash. Then when Ash was at Texas, hired him again. He coached corners at Texas.
Yeah.
So this guy's coached at Texas, Oklahoma, Georgia. He's coached at big time, worked under and learned from big time to basically guys who are on the last 40 years, maybe not 40 years, I don't know, 30, 20, whatever, Mount Rushmore of defensive coaches in college football. He's worked for them. And has that obvious connection with Ash where he has played for him, went back to work for him twice. So to me, that just absolutely makes sense. Not to say he might want to. He's been, Oklahoma 4 years. They made the playoff last year. Could be totally settled in with his family. Who knows, right? But he would make sense as this guy seems like he'd be the first call.
Yeah.
Now Freeman might have somebody else in mind. Like Marcus Freeman might have somebody else in mind, and then maybe he won't be. But I guarantee you, if Marcus Freeman asked Chris Ash, well, do you have the suggestions? And he probably asked for suggestions before.
You're right.
or already knew about this. And so he was on the list. He's got to be on the list, and he's got to be like one of, if not the first call, one of the first calls, because it just makes sense.
Yeah, and it's good that it makes sense that there's a connection there, and he has the bona fides that you're looking for. Like even if you didn't know him, it's like this is a name that would come up. Another name that came up in the chat that you also had on your list was third on the list. Again, I'm saying third. They're all good kind of choices, right? Like I don't mean to.
I was the only intentional first.
Got it. Okay.
Everybody else, I just kind of.
All right. Perry Eliano, the secondary coach at Syracuse. I think people would see Syracuse on there and be like, well, they're obviously not great. So what makes you feel like, all right, this is a good choice for Notre Dame, should they go in that direction?
Well, one, he wasn't on the staff that they just got beat 70 to whatever.
Okay.
So he wasn't on that staff. This is the guy who replaced Mike Mickens at Cincinnati. He replaced him at Cincinnati, worked with Marcus Freeman during the 2020 season when they had one of the best defenses in college football. Obviously, Freeman left in 2021. He stayed there. They had one of the best, secondaries in college football again. Again, he coached corners. So Mike Mickens obviously was a big part of developing Sauce Gardner as a freshman and Kobe Bryant. Well, this guy coached him for 2 years as well.
Right.
And so obviously he played a part in it. Then got hired at Ohio State. He was coaching safeties there. So he's coached safeties and coached corners. So that's another thing. And then he got bumped out at Ohio State, but it wasn't like he was doing I wouldn't say he was doing a bad job. It was more that Jim Knowles, they wanted to bring in his guy that he had coached with a long time ago at Duke. Like that was his guy. He got bumped out. He ended up at Toledo. And obviously that's like a big step down from Ohio State. But Toledo played awesome defense. And they played good defense before, but they played really, really good defense with him. Vince Karras, he went to Syracuse. That's why Perry Eliano went to Syracuse. Right, because Vince Karras left Toledo to become their defensive coordinator, and then he brought Perry Eliano with him. And Vince Karras, for people who don't know, he's probably one of the more respected, defensive coordinators. I mean, easily one of the most guys in the MAC, but just in general, he was a Mount Union guy, like very, very, very successful. And I think Eliano just makes sense because of obviously at that time too, Denbrock, Gaduli, Mike Brown, all those guys, anyone who's Cincinnati ties knows him and could vouch for him. If they like him, it makes sense. And they've seen him step in those shoes and do pretty darn well and have his guys play at a high level. Yeah, by the way, Toledo last couple of years, 17th and 1st in EPA per drop back the last 2 seasons, played pretty elite pass defense. So I think, he makes sense for a lot of those reasons. Yeah. And I know on face value, people just say like Syracuse and whatever, Toledo,
right.
Like the results are the results.
I think the good part of that is it's someone that Mike Mickens knows. And so then he can talk to the players that he brought in and be like, hey, this guy's good. Like,
yeah,
you're in good hands here. Like, this is not a bad, it's not a bad situation at all, and Marcus Freeman can say that as well. Cause it's like, he was there with him, hey, Marcus Freeman would say the defenses that I built at Cincinnati, like he was there for that. So was Mike Mickens, but then he was there. Like he was there when Mike Mickens left to Notre Dame, and and Marcus Freeman was still at Cincinnati. Right. So I think he can say like, hey, he was a part of the Sauce Gardner, Kobe Bryant thing for 2 years. Obviously Mike Mickens has a huge hand in that, but it all kind of blends when you're talking about, like, I think, because people have concerns about what does this mean for the young guys, especially, right? Like the Joey O'Briens and the Kari Adams and, all the other recruits like that just came in. Obviously, they've got some really good corners committed in 2027. Like they're going to want their kind of, they're going to have concerns now. Like who's it going to be? We all wanted to play for Mike Mickens. if Mike Mickens can call them, another good part of this too is Mike Mickens went to the pros, so he doesn't have a he doesn't have a conflict of interest. It's like it'd be one thing if Mike Mickens went to Texas and suddenly like Mike Mickens is on these guys and he's going to be calling Joey O'Brien and Kari Adams like, well, if you want to come to Texas, like that would be great too. Not that he would do that. I'm just saying that's a possibility. When you go to the NFL, he could just tell them like, hey, I know this guy, like stay at Notre Dame. Like they're great. Like he can still be an advocate for Notre Dame. And that's a good part of this that, having gone to the NFL that really helps Notre Dame in this situation in terms of the retention of not just the players on campus, but also the 2027 recruits. Did you have look like you wanted to say something?
No. And I just think one of the things too, that he can point to, and obviously Marcus Freeman can point to, they've had 5 guys leave for NFL jobs. They've done a pretty darn good job replacing them, you know? I think that's something like you still see success after. And I mean, it speaks to the guys that Marcus Freeman has hired. Like Marcus Freeman knows pretty good coaches. You know, he's hiring qualified guys. It's probably one of the reasons why NFL teams really, I didn't even really kind of put that together when I was thinking about NFL interest, but that makes a lot of sense. It's like, hey, this guy's hired a lot of guys, and NFL teams are hiring too. So yeah, I think you just look at, and obviously too, some of the guys are outside of the box that he hires, you know, that don't come to mind. People weren't talking about Al Golden and Chris Ash too at the time. But, you know, obviously he was thinking about it in a certain way. So, yeah, I think it would be a very different thing if Mickens was going to another rival school or something like that.
Or any college football team. Yeah. You know, it would, the dynamic would be very different. Speaking of Marcus Freeman and the hires that he's been able to make, like, I mean, that was one of the biggest questions about him when he was hired initially. It's because like he's so new in college football. How is he going to make hires? He doesn't have the connections. And so it's just kind of a unknown thing that really worked out for Notre Dame, that he's been very good at hiring coaches. You know, he's done I mean, I think at the beginning, I don't want to say struggled. Like I think the search to replace Tommy Rees was strained, to put it mildly. Like that didn't go great. Yeah. But obviously he's recovered from that, right? And so I think initially he had some hit and misses there, but then, you know, last year he brings in Ge Wang from Penn State, who was totally off the board and was a complete home run from like what you're looking for at that position. So that's been a nice little treat for Notre Dame, and you know, validates the hire that Jack Swarbrick made in him. Anybody else that you're kind of looking at? I know there's some other candidates on your list there. Who kind of stands out to you? And is there anyone who's kind of like this person is connected, but it's a no-go. It's a no from me, dog, kind of on that. So anyone else that stands out and someone you kind of hope is on the bottom of the list?
Okay. Like, I mean, personally, Willie Martinez and Kerry Combs, they have connections to Notre Dame. I don't think anyone would be excited by those guys being hired.
When you say anyone, you mean anyone in like the industry, not necessarily fans. Like fans have a problem with Chris O'Leary, and that's misguided. Like the other guys you're talking about.
Well, I think a lot of fans, because the thing is too, is like, it just terms of like chatter with like Tennessee fans or whatever, or previously at like Florida, Willie Martin, like he has a reputation, like people have always kind of, he's a scapegoat at a lot of places.
Yeah.
And that's not to say he's a bad coach or anything like that, but he's coached at a lot of places, but he doesn't have like the rep that you would want coming in to say this is like, wow, that's a home run hire. Right. And Kerry Combs, I think there's a lot of stuff on his resume that is impressive, you know, of like what he did at Ohio State and stuff too. People also, he's older too. And so it's Martinez is too. And people feel a very certain way about him. And I believe he has expressed some feelings about Notre Dame. First of all, I don't think Mark Freeman actually cares about that part about it at all. If he thinks a guy is like going to be a fit or whatever, I don't think that matters. I just don't think Combs would be more of like, I think to say that he's on the back nine of his career would probably be appropriate. And he doesn't seem like a guy that you would bring in at this point. I listed him because there's too many connections to say that it isn't obvious that he wouldn't be someone that like it wouldn't be shocking if he got it. Just wouldn't be someone that was viewed at a home run higher. Mm-hmm. I kind of like out of left field in terms of just like pure connections. I mean, Jamil Ade, who was the cornerbacks coach for the Buffalo Bills. I mean, I always look whenever there's an opening, I always look at like who in these NFL staffs, there's a coaching change. A lot of these guys are looking for jobs. Maybe they'll get another NFL job, and certainly that's been the case. And with a lot of guys, but you know, he's a guy who's coaching. He's coached last 2 years in the NFL for the Bills, done a pretty good job. He's been a college coach for the rest of the time, and he's, you know, a guy who's rising up. He was on Mario Cristobal's staff the first 2 years at Miami. He was the DB's coach at Georgia in 2021 when they won a national championship. Nice little thing to have on your resume. And also, though, he has a connection to 20, you know, he was at West Virginia in 2019 and 2020. And, you know, Matt Jansen, Notre Dame's director of scouting, who they've hired a lot of guys who've had connections to him. So obviously, first of all, he's done a good job at, you know, at Notre Dame in his role too. But it seems to be like a trusted guy. Like Mike Martin was connected to him. Like, so if he suggests somebody, I think it holds a lot of weight. So if that is something there, Jared Parker, who's obviously very good friends with Marcus Freeman, that's a guy he could vouch for as well too. So he would be the guy that maybe a lot of people wouldn't think about. But I think it would make sense in a lot of ways that he would maybe end up at Notre Dame, and he's a good coach.
Yeah. Jimmy Lake is brought up here in the chat. There's baggage there that I don't think Notre Dame would be very comfortable with, to say the least. So it'll be interesting. I'm confident that whoever, like Marcus Freeman, will make a reasoned choice and a good choice. He's done really well in this area recently, right? Between, you know, last year when Dylan McCullough left, he brings in Ge Wang. This year, Max Bulla leaves and he brings in Charlie Partridge, right? So like he has a good track record there. He had to replace Brian Mason as a special teams coach. He brought in Marty Biaggi, and that's really worked out. Ironically, Biaggi's name has been linked to things. It was interesting, the comment you made on Power Hour yesterday about Marcus Freeman having a big hand in the fakes and, you know, kind of the design of those and kind of green lighting those and everything. And I know that he was, what stop was he at when he was the special teams coordinator and he just like loved it? Like what, or where he worked at special teams? I know that he did it, and I'm blanking on where it was, but I know it was like he loved coaching special teams and he loved kind of being a part of, you know, designing fake punts and whatever it might be. So I thought that was interesting because I think the secret sauce of Biaggi is those fakes and just like creating points and creating opportunities and having the kind of the guile to actually go ahead with risky fakes and that sort of thing. I mean, I think that means a lot. I don't personally put a lot of the kicking stuff on him because his players got injured. No. Now,
yeah, I agree.
If he's for whatever reason their practice regimen is causing these injuries, then maybe, but we have no reason to think that's true. I mean, they're returning kickoffs for touchdowns. They're blocking punts, you know, like, so they've been really good on that area. So I Biaggi would be a loss, but like he was someone that also had to replace, like when Brian Mason left, people were very upset and it turned out to be a good situation. So I think, I think, you know, we can trust Marcus Freeman to make a good hire. Should he have to replace both of these guys, but it is the season, right? And it is that. And on Biaggi, that there's chatter out there, right, that he's being looked at or whatever. We don't know that he's going to take jobs. We don't know that he's actually been offered jobs. So I'm just saying that I'm addressing the fact that we know there is talk of him being looked at by other programs and other opportunities. Get to a question here. Speaking of people being apoplectic, if there was a move, this came from a mailbag, and I should get to it. The Gurge 62. I apologize for missing this. Hopefully you catch this today. Purely hypothetical. And this is not going to happen this year because Marcus Freeman's already kind of affirmed that he's going to be at Notre Dame. Who would be on your short list for head coach in the near 1 to 3 year future, and some names to put on the radar for down the road? So the name Clark Lea was brought up in during the mailbag, and I was like, we need to get to Clark Lea in a second here, because I think people would look to him. He's had success at Vanderbilt, which is a very hard place to have success at, and obviously wins 10 games. And became hey, Alabama's playing Vanderbilt. Like, we need to watch this game. It's a huge game, right? Like, it became like 2 ranked opponents and that sort of thing. They were in playoff conversations. What do you think as Clark Lea being an option for head coach at Notre Dame in the next, let's say Marcus Freeman leaves after this next year? How would you feel about Notre Dame looking at him? I mean, obviously they should look at him, but like being the choice as Notre Dame's head coach.
I mean, he wouldn't be at the top of my list. It's not to say, obviously, he's done a good job at Vanderbilt. Like, they were terrible. And anytime Vanderbilt wins 10 games in this era of
Right.
like, that's a big deal. Obviously, it's a different era than it was, so that there's a lot of help with the transfer portal. Let's see where they're at. I know they got the Curtis, the 5-star kid, but he's probably not going to be as ready as Diego Pavia was, and I don't think where they're at. Like, I want to see like kind of where they're at as a program, like going forward there. I don't know if he really like revolutionized stuff there to make you think. Like his name got thrown around, was like, well, Penn State's open, Michigan's open, whatever. Well,
Yeah.
Clark Lea's got to be your first call. I don't know. And this is me saying it from like experience of knowing when he was at Notre Dame too. I think he's obviously a very smart, bright coach, a good defensive coach. I also think though that he's not people think that because he's at Notre Dame, he totally understands it, and that, yes, there's that part of it he would understand, but also things have changed here.
Sure.
And is he going to do all the things? He's going to do all that all those changes, because they're not really doing it at Vanderbilt in the same way. So I would like to see kind of more there, or just a little bit more from them outside of just more sustained success, to think that like, hey, this is the guy. And he's not the guy who's going to win in the room like Freeman. He's not.
Yeah.
And I just thought his comments this year were like unbecoming. Like the stuff that he's saying, I guess, whatever, he's trying to sell his own program, but the whole idea of like, oh yeah, there's no way we're going to back out of bowl. Yeah, of course. You've been to like 5 bowl games in 30 years in Vandy. You're not backing out of a bowl game. Like, come on. Like, trying to play it like they were looking for an extra game during that time.
Yeah.
Like, that's
can't
play a game.
You know what that is? That's fake hustle.
Fake hustle.
You know what? Hit and hustle cannot abide by fake hustle, Jamie. And we spot it and we'll call it out. That's fake hustle.
Yeah. So I really just think that like that really turned me off on him as a coach, because that's like Lincoln Riley stuff. It really is.
Yeah.
Honestly. And I don't know, maybe he's just doing it in the moment. Maybe he just got a little bit of Diego Pavia rubbed off on him. But I don't know. That's right away. I mean, I actually lost a lot of respect for him with that. Honestly, I was like, wow, that's You're that guy? Didn't think you were, but I guess so. So, I don't know.
You know what I don't like about him from a coaching standpoint? His defense is bad.
Why haven't they? Yes. Why have they not?
Your defense, you are Diego Pavia created. Your defense is not good. You're a defensive coach. It's across seasons. This is your.
Why are they not decent? Like, they're not even decent. And I understand you need personnel. Yes. You're like 4, year 5. Like, can you not get the personnel? Like, you're not developing these guys. It's not like they've been losing a ton of talent, like, to the portal where they've been having guys. No, they haven't identified, developed enough guys on defense. And I mean, obviously, he made a really good hire in his first defensive coordinator. Jesse Minter, the coach of the Baltimore Ravens, was his first hire.
Yeah.
At, as a defensive coordinator there. But, like, why isn't the defense better?
That it wasn't good. But it wasn't good. You had him, and it still wasn't good. Like, to me, it's just like you're a defensive. Look, if Marcus Freeman had the number 1 ranked offense and the 50th ranked defense year over year, he'd be like, you're supposed to be a defensive coach. What's going on?
Yeah.
Like, what's the deal? I mean, when Notre Dame starts out poorly on defense last year and it gets fixed, it's like, yeah, Chris Ash did a good job. Marcus Freeman also kind of stepped in and be like, hey, we're not doing this anymore. Like, we need to figure this out. And it gets figured out. Like, the reason, like, you have the offense that they have, the reason you're not a playoff team is because your defense is mid.
Yeah.
No good.
Like, if their defense was decent, they would have been in.
Yeah. Red flaggy. Chris also brings up, he ranked Vandy over Notre Dame in the final coaches poll. I think he put Notre Dame 15th. Is that right?
Yes. That's another thing too.
That's another thing, bro. Like,
people get mad at the Ivan Maisel thing. You should really look at that stuff too. Honestly.
Yeah. I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. So who do you, look, to me, I think the first call is, I don't know if he's where he's at with it, with relationship with Notre Dame. My first call is Elko. That's I personally, I think he's a little bit overrated, but it's hard to find a guy who's coached at Notre Dame and has shown like he's a killer. He is that, and he has done it at Texas A&M in terms of recruiting and the portal. Like, that's what Notre Dame needs, a guy who is going to be a killer like Marcus Freeman is, and willing to like push the limits. And I think Mike Elko is that guy, and he's had success, and he beat Notre Dame in Notre Dame Stadium. Like, that matters a lot to me. So to me, I'm calling Mike Elko first, and I'm offering him a lot of money should it come to that.
The other thing is too, is that he's a guy who, his staff, like, he's been a guy who has hired good assistants.
Yeah.
Like, we could say whatever. I'm not completely sold on Clark Lee as the next head coach of Notre Dame. He's a pretty darn good linebackers coach. Like, he's had, and through the years, Christian Parker was a guy that he helped bring the thing. Now the guy's a defensive coordinator in the NFL. Like, he's had that throughout this thing. One, Derek Miller is his GM there. I think he's a really, really bright guy. I think that if you get Elko, you probably get Derek Miller. He's really, really good at his job. He's helped build that program up. I think Texas A&M has like an identity. I think that is a thing now. It's like they are a different kind of team there. He's built them through the line of scrimmage as well. And I think he's just one of the reasons why he left Notre Dame, and I know people feel a certain way about that, was because Notre Dame didn't want to change things from how they did it, and it was frustrating to him. And now they have changed a lot of those things. So he would kind of walk in to what Marcus Freeman built and kind of hit the ground running. And I mean, he won at Duke. He took Duke and right away after, turn around. And I know Cutcliffe had won there previously, but they were not in a good spot, and he built them up and they were winning right away. So I think there's that. He's won. So yeah, to me, he would be like your first call. I don't know how open he would be to leaving. But I think, it makes sense that he would be a guy you call. I don't think there's a ton of guys. So if that's the thing, as of today, I don't know who would be an obvious person to be like, man, this is the next guy, or these are the next guys. To me, there's not a lot of those guys, which is why Alex Golish ends up at Auburn.
Yeah.
And not to say he's not going to be a great coach. He could be an awesome hire there. But normally, like, Auburn's thinking they're getting somebody better than USF's coach, who was like pretty good, but didn't win the AAC, you know? And John Summerall is obviously a good coach. Like, he is a good coach, but I don't think Florida thought they were going to get him, so there aren't really guys. And I think really Notre Dame kind of lucked into Marcus Freeman being there at the right time and him being the right guy, obviously. And sometimes you need that, right? Like, you need luck.
Yeah.
But I don't know if there's obvious guys. So to me, I'm thinking like, okay, so Tommy Rees is, I think for sure, he is somebody's. Yeah, honestly, he will get a call, guys.
It's if I think if they missed on like Elko, they would. He will interview. Get an interview. He would get an interview.
He will 100%. Interview for the job.
Yeah,
like that. Yeah. That is a thing. And he's highly thought of. Like, so I know people feel a certain way about him, but in the industry, people feel a certain way about him too. So he would get a call, and maybe even be one of the favorites if it happened at this time, because like I said, there's not a lot of other guys that are obvious ones. So like, people would say, well, Cignetti. I mean, why would Cignetti leave right now? Like, he just won the national championship at Indiana. So I don't really know why he would leave, but I guess he would, reach out and see. But I don't think there's a lot of obvious choices there. So I think what you're looking at is probably guys that maybe aren't obvious right now, but could be a year from now or 2 years from now or whatever. So I think of like Glenn Schumann, who's the defensive coordinator at Georgia. Obviously, you've seen Dan Lanning's doing, right? Like, that's something like, if you're looking at one of those guys on the rise like that, he would be on the list of one of those guys, right? I've never been a head coach for. Neither was Marcus Freeman. So maybe he would be, someone there. This year's Bob Chesney. Extremely successful at Holy Cross. I know that's not big time football, but like, Holy Cross was not in a good spot. Takes them to, FCF playoffs, goes to James Madison. They make the playoff. Like, they're unbelievable there. Now he's got the UCLA job.
Yeah.
That's not a good job. It's not a good job right now, but this guy's won wherever he's gone. So if all of a sudden UCLA, you're like, man, UCLA went 7-5, 8-4 this year, he should be on people's list. Like, he's a winner, right? That is somebody there that I think makes sense. And I mean, you all you do here is good things about him. And because I saw somebody say Fran Brown as a possibility and as, no go. Fran Brown would be 100% as a guy to like, he's not at the forefront of anyone's list right now. I think he's a good coach. I think he's in a really, really hard spot to win. They are not in a good spot.
And it's very hard for him too, because he lost Angeli. He lost his quarterback. I mean, they were kind of due, to do something. They were certainly not be what they were. They ended up.
They were going to make a bowl game.
Yeah.
And after they had lost a ton of teams, a ton of talent from the year before, when they won 10 games at Syracuse, 10 games at Syracuse. Now they had a really, really hard schedule last year. It was the worst time ever to lose Steve Angeli. And I know Clemson wasn't good, but they went into Clemson and beat Clemson when Angeli was still healthy. And to me, you look at like who he hires as coaches and stuff, who he can kind of attracts. I think that's a guy who would, and I do think that that's a guy that Freeman would vouch for him too.
Yeah.
So I think Syracuse is going to do well with him. And yes, he's not a guy that he's going to get hired. If Marcus Freeman left for the Pittsburgh Steelers a few weeks ago, or whatever, Fran Brown wouldn't be on the list. But is he on the long list of later on? I think, yeah, he is a guy to watch. So like Charles Huff, that's another guy to me. Because all you see is like, I mean, first of all, he came into Notre Dame and won with a lot less talent. That always says something, right? Really successful at Marshall with like nothing. He like no help there. Had to kind of build it on his own. Obviously, was a Saban assistant, done really well. Went to Southern Miss. They're not in a great spot. Goes there and wins. Players want to play for him. He's that guy. Gets the Memphis job. He's going to turn that Memphis job. They're going to do well. I think they're probably going to be one of, if not, the best team in the AAC for the time that he's there. And then he's going to move on and get another job. That is a guy to kind of watch because he's going to have multiple years of being a head coach, showing he's a program builder, been at also big, he's been at Penn State, been in Alabama. So he kind of checks a lot of boxes there too. Really, really good football coach. So that'd be somebody, maybe because he's mostly been a Boise State guy, but Spencer Danielson been really successful so far at Boise State. They had a step back last year. I think not a lot of people know that like Maddox Madsen got hurt and they were like playing with their backup for a good part of it and stuff. So, I think there's a lot, but he's a good ball coach, well respected. So, I think those types of guys, are guys to kind of look at going forward. And obviously some of those guys don't work out and they might not be the right people, but I think those are the people you have to kind of think of, because there's not really anybody else that pops out that, hey, this is the guy who's just been waiting his turn to get this big job. Like Luke Fickell a couple years ago. Well, guess what? Maybe Luke Fickell would have been a disaster. And then it would have been like, because it hasn't been great at Wisconsin. So, but there's all these kind of things that you just don't know. He would have seemed like an obvious, like this is a home run. But then you're like, well, a lot of the infrastructure there came with Freeman, and then maybe Freeman and a lot of those guys were the secret to the sauce. So we'll see. But I don't know. It's not I think people want to say, yeah, that guy, that's an obvious guy. Or they want people to, be like, well, it should be this guy's going to leave this big job to take this. I don't think there's a lot of obvious guys like that. And not to say that the job is going to be attractive to anyone. To me, if it was open this year at the same time as these other jobs, I think it would have probably been, I think you could have argue it was the best job open. Yeah. And that's not something you would say a few years ago when it was like Florida or whatever. You wouldn't say that. Freeman has built it to that.
Yeah. And like the thing with Fran Brown is like Notre Dame whipped him 70-7. And then he goes in and is like, hey, like, I want to be that. I want to be like Notre Dame. And I want to be like what Marcus Freeman built, right? Like glowing that way, like that gets noticed, and it was probably on purpose, right? Like he's not a dum-dum. I want to get to this. We can end with this here. Free. Whoever the new coach will be, I hope they are a Notre Dame guy and don't have to worry about them leaving in another 3 years and just wants to stick around. So here's the thing, that if Notre Dame is what everyone wants them to be as a football team, that is not possible, because it's hard to win at Notre Dame, and winning like this, like Marcus Freeman has at Notre Dame, gets attention, and that is going to be attractive to lots of opportunities, especially in the NFL, right? Marcus Freeman to me is 100% a Notre Dame guy, but like that, it's not forever, like this kind of success is going to manifest itself into opportunities. And that's why Marcus Freeman was very honest in the press conference when he was like, hey, we should have this conversation again next year, because the plan is to go win a national title. And so if you're interested in me now, there's going to be interest if I go win a national title, as is the plan. So I get it, right? And I don't view Marcus Freeman as a guy who's like, if he had left this year, I'd have been like, that's too soon. If he leaves next year after a playoff run, it's like he's kind of done it 3 years in a row now of like being a really, really good team. Like maybe you're just looking to, okay, I can go take the next step if that's what he's looking for. So I understand the sentiment. I get it. I would love that as well. But I don't think that's reality when you build the team the way that Marcus Freeman has and the way that we hope the next coach will as well. It's just the natural progression of it. It's that type of situation.
And I think even if you said like, okay, Pete Carroll at USC.
Yeah.
And all that success he had for a long time, right? Well, I mean, no one was going to turn down what they had during that run, but he ultimately went to the NFL, and he was an NFL guy, and ultimately went back to the NFL, and did well when he went back to the NFL. Just to say, like Tommy Rees, that's a perfect example of Notre Dame alum. And let's just say Tommy Rees came in and he was at Notre Dame for 6 years, and they had a rolling that during that 6 years, they won a national champion, at least one national championship during that time. He might be like, I want to go to the NFL then. It could be, even though he's a Notre Dame alum, like that easily could happen. So all the Dan Lanning, I understand people like, well, he's completely shut it down. I think Dan Lanning will probably coach in the NFL one day. That would be my guess.
Yeah.
Is that he is going to go and he'll get offered a job and go and take it someday, but probably after they win a national championship, or at least get to the national championship game, because they haven't yet. Right. So that's what I think will probably happen. And you really just don't know. I think anyone who, I get it, would people be frustrated if Mark Freeman left. What he's done during this time to build up the program to a point where most people didn't even think it was possible to get back to. I think you couldn't say, like, when you say left it better than when he, it's better off than when he arrived. I mean, it's absolutely like not even close. Like, for what Brian Kelly did to make it better during his time, what Freeman did during this time to build on what from Kelly is like not even close.
Yep. I mean, he did exactly what they wanted, right? To take the next step. National championship caliber in 24. I think they were national championship caliber last year. It just didn't work out that they got into the tournament. If he does it again, that's exactly what everyone was looking for. So hopefully that brings along a national title for Notre Dame, which will be one of the favorites for. I think we can end it there. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. If you like what you heard, hit that like, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. So whatever it is, we are going live. We'll be back on Thursday with more Hit and Hustle. Also, for the women's basketball lovers, we got a little something going on with one of Notre Dame's star players that I'm recording tomorrow that will probably come out on Friday. So it'll be very interesting to check out. Look for it. All right. Thank you. Have a good rest of your day, everyone. We will talk to you on Thursday. Keep hitting and hustling.